The trading post at Copper Junction stood at the crossroads of three territories, a place where debts were settled, goods were bartered, and sometimes, in the darkest transactions, people changed hands like property. On this particular autumn afternoon in 1876, Silas Hartwell had dragged his 18-year-old daughter Eliza to the rough wooden building with the clear intention of ridding himself of what he loudly called his greatest burden. Eliza stood near the hitching post, her substantial 400-pound frame wrapped in a threadbare dress that had been mended so many times the original fabric was barely visible. Her round face was flushed with shame as her father conducted his business inside the trading post, negotiating with Flint Carver, a legendary mountain man whose reputation for strength and fairness had spread throughout the territories. "Hey, take this pig away!" Silas's voice carried through the open door, loud and cruel. "I'm done feeding this useless sow. She eats more than 3 men and can't do the work of one. You said I owed you $200 for supplies, Carver. Take her in trade, and we'll call it even." The trading post fell silent. Even hardened frontiersmen and rough trappers shifted uncomfortably at Silas's callous words. Flint Carver, who had been examining ledgers at the counter, set down his papers and turned to face Silas with an expression that made several people instinctively step back. Flint was an imposing figure by any measure. Standing 6'5" with shoulders like an ox yoke and a powerfully muscled frame that showed even through his buckskin shirt, he was known throughout the territories as someone you didn't cross. His chest and abdomen displayed the kind of defined musculature what folks were starting to call a six-pack that came from years of hard mountain living. Dark hair touched his collar. His face was weathered and scarred from countless battles with nature and men alike, and his gray eyes held an intensity that could stop most men in their tracks. "Let me make sure I understand correctly," Flint said, his voice deceptively calm. "You're offering your daughter a human being in trade for a debt. Is that what you're proposing?" "That's exactly what I'm proposing," Silas said, either too stupid or too desperate to recognize the danger in Flint's tone. "She's my property until she's married off, and since no man would willingly take something that looks like her, I'm offering her to you. Take her off my hands, and your debt is paid. Hell, I'm doing you a favor she can cook and clean when she's not too lazy to move." "Bring her inside," Flint said quietly. "I want to hear what she has to say about this arrangement." Silas went to the door and shouted, "Eliza, get in here, girl." Eliza entered the trading post with her head down, her entire body language screaming defeat and shame. She'd grown up with Silas's constant mockery. Her mother had died giving birth to her, and Silas had blamed her for that loss every single day of her life. Being called a pig, being offered in trade like livestock, this was just the culmination of 18 years of cruelty. Flint studied her carefully, then spoke directly to her, ignoring Silas entirely. "Miss Hartwell, my name is Flint Carver. Your father owes me money for supplies I provided him over the past year. He's proposing to settle that debt by giving you to me. But before any decisions are made, I need to know, is this what you want? Do you want to stay with your father, or would you prefer to leave with me?" Eliza's head snapped up, shock clear in her brown eyes. No one had ever asked her what she wanted. She looked at her father, whose face was already reddening with anger at being ignored, and then back at Flint. She started, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't want to stay with him, but I don't understand what you're offering, Mr. Carver." "I'm offering you a choice," Flint said. "If you come with me, it won't be as property or as an indentured servant. I'm proposing a legal marriage, performed by a proper minister, that would give you legal protections and rights. You'd be my wife, my partner, and you'd be treated with the respect any person deserves. The work would be hard. I live in the mountains, And frontier life isn't easy, but you'd be fed, clothed, housed, and most importantly, you'd be valued. That's what I'm offering, but the choice is yours. Marriage? Silas sputtered. You'd actually marry her? Good God, man, I was just offering her as a servant. You don't have to— Shut your mouth, Flint said without raising his voice, but with such finality that Silas actually complied. I'm talking to your daughter, not to you. He turned back to Eliza. I need you to understand something before you answer. My younger sister Rebecca was built like you, heavy-set, as people called it, and people treated her terribly because of it. She died when she was 21, and I've always believed the constant mockery and shame contributed to her giving up on life. When I look at you, I see her someone being judged and found wanting because of appearance rather than character. So I'm making you this offer not out of pity, but out of a belief that you deserve better than what you've been given. What do you say? Eliza looked at this powerful, intimidating stranger who was somehow offering her more consideration than her own father ever had. She thought about staying with Silas, enduring more years of abuse and mockery. She thought about the alternative, taking a chance with someone who at least spoke of respect and partnership, even if she couldn't quite believe such things were possible for someone like her. I'll come with you, she said, her voice growing stronger. I'll marry you, Mr. Carver. Flint nodded and turned back to Silas. The debt is settled, but understand this. Hartwell, you no longer have any claim on Eliza. She's under my protection now, and if you ever come near her again, if you ever speak to her or about her the way you just did, I will make you regret it. Are we clear? Silas, faced with Flint's imposing presence and clear threat, nodded quickly and left the trading post without another word, clearly eager to be rid of his burden and collect whatever remained of his goods. Flint arranged for the marriage ceremony to be performed that very day by a circuit preacher who happened to be passing through Copper Junction. The preacher was clearly uncomfortable with the rushed nature of the proceedings, but Flint's explanation that he wanted to ensure Eliza had legal protections immediately satisfied whatever concerns he had. As Eliza spoke her vows in the small church attached to the trading post, still wearing her threadbare dress and barely believing any of this was real, she noticed that Flint spoke his own vows with firm conviction, as if this marriage meant something to him beyond a simple transaction. After the ceremony, Flint led Eliza to his wagon loaded with supplies for the mountain journey ahead and helped her onto the seat with surprising gentleness for someone of his size and strength. It's a 3-day journey to my homestead, he said as they left Copper Junction behind. We'll camp 2 nights on the trail. I need you to understand something, Eliza. This marriage may have started as a way to protect you from your father, but I take my vows seriously. You're my wife now, and I'll treat you as such with respect, consideration, and partnership. But I also know you don't know me, and you have no reason to trust me yet. So while we're legally married, I won't expect intimacy until you're ready and willing. Your room will be your own, with a lock if you want it. Understood? Understood, Eliza whispered, though she could barely process what he was saying. Men didn't talk this way, with consideration for her feelings, with acknowledgement of her right to choices. It had to be too good to be true. But over the 3-day journey, Flint continued to prove himself. He made sure she was comfortable while they traveled, provided her with good food and clean water, set up a private sleeping area for her each night while he kept watch by the fire. He told her about his life, his years as a trapper and guide, his successful homestead in the mountains, his plans for expanding his operation. He asked about her skills and interests, listened attentively to her answers, and never once made a cruel comment about her appearance. My sister Rebecca, Flint said one evening as they sat by the campfire. She was the smartest person I ever knew. could do mathematics in her head that most men needed paper and pencil for, had a gift for understanding animals, for reading weather, for managing resources. But all anyone ever saw was her size. They dismissed her, mocked her, told her she was worthless. It killed something inside her, watching her realize the world would never value what she had to offer because they couldn't see past her body. He looked at Eliza directly. "I don't know what skills you have, what gifts you might possess, but I know you survived 18 years with a father who treated you like garbage, and you still have kindness in your eyes instead of cruelty. That tells me more about your character than your size ever could. I'm looking forward to discovering who you really are, Eliza. Not the person your father said you were, but who you actually are." Eliza felt tears streaming down her face. "No one has ever talked to me like that. Like I might be worth knowing." "Then no one has been paying attention," Flint said simply. Flint's homestead appeared on the third day, nestled in a protected valley with stunning mountain views. The cabin was substantial, a solid two-room structure with a loft, well-maintained and comfortable. There was a barn, a garden plot, and outbuildings that spoke of years of hard work and careful planning. "Welcome home," Flint said, helping Eliza down from the wagon. "The main bedroom is yours. I sleep in the loft. The cabin's bigger than it needs to be for just me, but I built it with the thought that someday I might have a family. Now I do." Over the following weeks and months, Eliza discovered a new kind of life. Flint proved to be exactly what he'd promised, a respectful partner who valued her contributions and never made her feel ashamed of her body. He taught her wilderness skills, and she proved to be a quick learner. She could shoot straight, track animals, read weather signs, and handle the physical demands of mountain life better than Flint had expected. In return, Eliza brought order and warmth to the cabin. She was an excellent cook, a skilled organizer, and had a natural head for managing supplies and planning for the long winters. She also had that gift for mathematics Flint had mentioned his sister possessing. She could calculate yields, costs, and profits in her head, helping Flint make better business decisions about his trapping and guiding work. Their partnership worked so well that they gradually became friends, and then, slowly, something more. About 6 months after their marriage, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Flint spoke quietly. "Eliza, I need to tell you something. When I married you, I told myself I was just helping someone who needed help, giving you protection from your father. But that's not the whole truth anymore. These past months, getting to know you, seeing your strength and intelligence and kindness, I've fallen in love with you. Really, truly in love. And I'm hoping you might feel the same." Eliza's heart raced. She'd been falling in love with Flint for months, but had been too afraid to hope he could feel the same way about her. "I do feel the same," she whispered. "I love you, Flint. I've been afraid to say it because I couldn't believe someone like you could actually love someone like me." "Someone like me?" Flint asked, pulling her close. "You mean someone scarred and rough and better with animals than people? Someone who lives in isolation because he doesn't fit in civilized society? Eliza, we're both people the world tried to tell us we weren't good enough. The difference is, we found each other, and we know the truth that worth has nothing to do with what society thinks, and everything to do with character and capability and courage. You're the most remarkable woman I've ever known, and I consider myself the luckiest man alive that you agreed to marry me." That night, they became husband and wife in truth as well as law, their love-making tender and passionate and healing for both of them. Eliza finally understood that Flint truly found her beautiful and desirable, while Flint felt the loneliness that had haunted him since Rebecca's death finally begin to ease. Their happiness was interrupted about a year after their marriage when a rough-looking man named Jed Crow rode up to the cabin with two armed companions. Crow was a creditor who had heard about Silas Hartwell's transaction and believed he had a claim on Eliza as part of settling another of Silas's outstanding debts. "I'm here for the Hartwell girl," Crow announced. "Her father used her as collateral for a loan he took from me 2 years ago. Never paid it back. So according to my paperwork, she's mine now." Flint stepped onto the porch, his rifle held casually but ready. "Eliza Hartwell doesn't exist anymore. Eliza Carver is my legally married wife. Your claim, if it ever existed, is void. Now get off my property." "Not without what I'm owed," Crow said stubbornly. "That girl represents $200 of debt. You can either give her to me or pay me what's owed." "I already settled all of Silas Hartwell's debts," Flint said coldly. "Every single one, including yours. I made sure of it 6 months ago because I knew scum like you would try something like this. Check with the Territorial Records Office in Denver. Your debt was paid in full, with interest. You have no claim on my wife or on anything else. Now leave before I lose my patience." Crow's face reddened with anger and frustration, but when Flint's rifle came up to point directly at him, he thought better of pressing the issue. He and his men rode off, cursing but unwilling to risk their lives over a claim that apparently no longer existed. After they left, Eliza turned to Flint with wide eyes. "You paid off all my father's debts? When? Why didn't you tell me?" "I did it about 6 months ago," Flint admitted. "Once I realized I was falling in love with you, I wanted to make sure nothing and no one could ever threaten to take you away. So I tracked down every debt Silas had accumulated, every loan he'd taken using you as collateral without your knowledge, and I paid them all off. Cost me most of my savings, but it was worth every penny to know you're safe." Eliza threw her arms around him, crying with relief and love. "You gave up your savings for me? To protect me?" "I'd give up everything for you," Flint said simply. "You're my wife, Eliza, my partner, the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Protecting you isn't a sacrifice, it's a privilege." Their final confrontation with Silas came 2 years after their marriage. The cruel father appeared at their cabin, bedraggled and desperate, begging Eliza to come back and take care of him now that he was old and broke. "I'm your father," Silas whined. "You owe me. I raised you, fed you, kept a roof over your head. Now I need you to do the same for me." Eliza looked at this pathetic man who had tormented her for 18 years, who had called her a pig and tried to sell her like livestock. She felt Flint's solid presence beside her, his hand resting supportively on her shoulder. "You're not my father in any way that matters," Eliza said clearly. "A father loves his child, protects her, values her. You did none of those things. You mocked me, starved me emotionally, if not always physically, and finally tried to get rid of me like I was garbage. The only good thing you ever did for me was lead me to Flint. So no, I won't come take care of you. I won't give you money. I won't give you anything except this advice. Die alone, knowing that you destroyed any chance at love or family through your own cruelty." Silas tried to appeal to Flint, but one look at the mountain man's face told him that was pointless. Flint's protection of Eliza was absolute, and he clearly shared her opinion of her father. Silas left, and they never saw him again. Years later, as Eliza and Flint sat on their porch watching their 3 children play in the yard, children Eliza had once thought she'd never have, because who would want to have children with someone like her? She reflected on the strange journey that had brought her here. "Do you remember what my father said that day?" Eliza asked. "When he called me a pig and told you to take me away?" "I remember wanting to kill him for it," Flint said honestly. Still do sometimes. Those words could have defined my whole life, Eliza continued. Could have been my epitaph. Here lies the pig her father sold. But instead, they became the start of the best chapter of my life, because they brought me to you, to this life, to these children, to finally understanding that I was never the problem. Cruel people were the problem. Flint pulled her close, this remarkable woman who had transformed his lonely cabin into a true home. Your father was the pig, not you. You're the woman who survived his cruelty and became stronger for it, the woman who learned to shoot, trap, track, and thrive in the wilderness, the woman who manages our business better than I ever could alone, the woman who's raising our children to judge people by character rather than appearance. You're everything, Eliza. Everything I never knew I needed. As the sun set over the mountains and their children's laughter filled the evening air, Eliza and Flint held each other and counted their blessings. What had started with the cruelest transaction, a father selling his daughter because of her size, had become the foundation of a love story that proved worth was never determined by appearance, but always by the courage to survive, the strength to forgive oneself, and the wisdom to recognize love when it offered itself, even in the most unexpected circumstances. The father who had tried to sell his pig of a daughter had died alone and forgotten. But Eliza and Flint Carver built a legacy that lasted for generations, a family that valued character over appearance, compassion over cruelty, and the understanding that true strength came not from physical power alone, but from the courage to see others truly and to love them exactly as they were.